I think we are live. Let's make sure that we are. I think we're good. Just quickly double check. Okay, I think we're good. So, just for those of you who are joining us today, I'm going to quickly update the title. Let's scaling. All right. Nice. Alrighty. Sorry guys, just setting up my windows. Alright, so where are we here? What we have from last time is we have a Spring Boot service that has two simple controllers, request controller and our task controller. We have our entity for request and task, we have a repository, we have our service. We don't have a model layer yet. We can get to that later. But what we're going to start off with is just better building out our entities. So right now under the hood we are using H2 as our database. Come here. We'll switch this to Postgres later once we have our data model, but for quick iteration, this is the fastest solution. So we have a few different things that we want to enable. So since we're building a quest list, let's take a look at some examples here from different video games. We'll search up a few different references. Actually, do quest book. Game. It's funny, I figure like there would be a lot more options, right? So it's fine. Let's start with this. This is WoW. And we see a few things here that already we're going to need to know. We have our title. We have some category. We have our status. And then we can come in to the rights for the rest. So let's make that non-null. Why is this? I actually don't know the difference. actually don't know which one to use, so we'll worry about that later. Embarrassing. So let's have a description string as well. So it looks like it has some sort of description. Do we want to add a subtitle here? Sure. So this will be our simple bring the doll blood claw skull to Rain, Wolf Runner, and Astronar. So we have our title, store status, private string status, and actually let's make this an enum since we know we'll be using it later. Quest status, and then for now let's do I think these are okay. Okay. Oops. Okay. I think that should be it. I think we can just do that. I don't know if I need to do any more. Cool. Should add some space between these. Should we limit the columns just in case? Column 255 seems a little bit long. Let's do 127. How long is that? This is a long string of text. I want to define it. Yeah, okay, that's gonna be more than enough for. Nope, I want to save that. Okay, in fact, we could probably do 63. Let's see if we need to enable more in the future. And then this, we can do 511. Now, I actually don't know why the default is 255. Spring boot column default size 127. I'm sorry, 25. With a maximum length of 255, TBMS can choose to use a single. Oh, interesting. Well, for all these purposes, we don't care about that. In the base column size to 510 versus 512. Actually, so this is a cool little bit of learning. It seems, which makes sense. So default.
I'm not sure I understand.
Nope, not use here. You know, in the olden days, a length of 255 was used for the database because they wanted to limit the size. So of the column. That's so cool. Okay, so what I'm trying to get out, sorry, I'm not articulating that really well, is in the olden days, what they would do is they would do 255 bytes for data, 1 byte for like size, just null terminator, equals 256 bytes, right? So that divides equally. So then if I multiply that by 5, 10, 20, does that make sense? Is that something we should do? I don't know. If I don't put a length, is there a default? Let's leave it at the default for now. Do you need a column? No, I don't think you need it. That's fine, we can add it. Just in case. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. For now. Okay. So we have the main offenders, and then let's also do a let's give this a length 32, for example. And the reason why is I keep seeing these groupings. Maybe 64, just in case it's going to map to a full title. It might also map to a UUID in the future. We will decide that later. And so let's see here. There could be a reward option. We have our task over here. So 1, 2, 1.
Who do you want to?
Okay. Private object reward. Let's worry about that later, but that's something maybe to do. Okay. I want to do a bulk comment. Only one. Interesting. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. So we have our to-do there. I think this gives us enough to get started. Now, let's look at the tasks as well. And so tasks are going to be slightly different because this is an MMO. It's actually like retrievals and like events. We don't have to be that granular. We can actually nothing's going to bother me. Just for now, we'll leave it at 1024. We can worry about the optimization later. I think we can drop this. It's supposed to be that. So let's quickly look at the task as well. And so for each task, we're going to have a title. And I think we just need a subtitle. And then probably task status. And then I think it might have all the same attributes as this guy. No, in fact, I think it can be a little bit simpler. So we can just do not started. Completed. And I actually want this in sentence case, not this. Cool. Should be good there. Okay. So let's quickly reload this, make sure we don't have any compilation issues. Looks good. And I think we're at the point, actually. Let's quickly go look at our to-dos. Okay. Now let's also add a few boilerplates. So private instance created at. Cool. So we'll do that to task as well. Just so we have an audit log, and then I was going to say we might need a completed at here, but we can probably leverage the fact that if it's updated and the status is completed, we know that it was completed at that time. But maybe not, because what if you go up and updated it as well? We can use an audit trail for that. I think that's a better usage of that than this. Okay, so let's do that for now. And then anything else we need to know? No, I think we've got most of it. Cool. And so this is just assuming a one-off quest for everything. We can get into like recurring and that type of data later. I'm not too fussed about that right now. So I think with this, what we can do is, I was looking again at these. Let's use one of these as a um, place to start, and I think we'll use both of them. I'm not saying. So we have this. This is wow. So I also want to look at this because I sort of like the stacked element of it. Where'd you go? Just the image. Anything else that looks interesting? It's funny, I feel like this is such a fundamental aspect of gaming. I'm not seeing a lot of things pop up. Okay. So we'll use these two for now. We'll do mobile first design as always. And we can scale it to this size for web. And so the way that I see the page looking is, we have some heading, right? And then on mobile, we'll have our navigation on the bottom. On desktop, we can have our navigation at the top. And it looks like we have some action items here as well. There we go. So we can do some actions on the bottom, nav on the top. We actually can leave nav on the top for both of them. We'll see if we want to redo that later. And then we have a split screen design, assuming nothing is selected. You have the full left pane. Then if you select something, you can see it here, and then you have your navigation at the bottom. Okay. I like that. So let's go back to VS Code, and let's start scaffolding our structure. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create a pages, services, and components folder. This is how I like to set up my folder structure. There's 1,000 different ways to set it up, but in my opinion, this is the most scalable. And we'll identify what each of these are. So components, as the name suggests, is where our shared components, and anything that isn't a page layout and template and is not tied to a single scope can live here. Think about shared stuff like buttons, like input fields, forms, etc. Then we have pages. Surprisingly, I actually really like the way that Next.js and file-based routing looks. I don't like how it's very tightly coupled to your code, but we'll follow a very similar structure here. And so the directory structure should dictate your how your pages actually look and render, which is cool. And then we'll have services as well, which is down. Just any shared services state and everything can be stated here, and we'll organize that by domain if needed. So what we'll do is we'll generate a new page, and so it's going to be a component under pages, and we'll name it home or index. So we'll do that. It should generate a subfolder under index. Perfect. We'll also create a page for quest view, and the way that I'm seeing this is your index will be the main page, like overall layout, etc. You may not even need an index, but the quest view will be the actual list and detail or whatever. But we'll have like a summary, and then we'll have like a detail page. And then we'll have actually already I'm going to change this up. So we'll have quest view, create, update. Again. Just Angular gets the naming right, and we'll just delete the folders because that's too much. Okay, so all these should be good. So what are we going to have here? We're going to have some analytics, some action items, maybe some notifications, right? Basic flow. On our quest view page, we'll have list of quests grouped by category. Probably have some filters or stuff at the top. Filtering options. And then we'll have on click of quest, display details below, mobile, below, tablet, plus, right. Okay. Cool. So I think that should get us mostly where we want to be. And so let's generate a few shared components that we're going to need as well. C, components, bar. Okay. We'll also have our footer. And this will mostly be for desktop and tablet. I'm thinking, do we need a header as well? But we can ignore the footer for now. Let's keep the nav bars separate. And let's make our page layout. So we're going to our routes. Okay, so we'll do that as our first. We'll do a wildcard redirect. Okay. And then we'll also do I guess we also want to do a detail. And so the view is basically our catch-all, get request, and oops. Yeah, our view will basically be our catch-all, and our quest, our quest view will be our catch-all, so list everything, and then the detail component will be when we actually want to go in and, see the additional details. And we'll reuse the detail depending on if we're actually going to what am I trying to say? We'll reuse the detail whether it's its own standalone page or if it's just like part of a different view. And so do this request detail component. And so this should be able to self-render. Or if it's just part of a broader component, it can just take it in as an input parameter. Cool. So also just suffix it or prefix it with detail because we're also going to have a few more routes. So that would create. And then again, same as before, edit. So that should be all of our paths. And so if we go to our UI, index works. So we're going to probably work out of a dev mode for a long while. So let's quickly, or out of a mobile view for a long while. So let's quickly do that. We'll zoom in a little bit. So we can see. Okay. So let's quickly set up the scaffolding of our page. Come to our app component. Now, for the most part, we're going to have this nav bar. I don't think there's going to be a time where we don't have it. So let's leave it there for now. Okay, nav bar works. And let's assume that our navigation will worry about mobile first, then everything, like our desktop later. For now, we're focused on mobile first, and we'll do old school, just have everything at the top. Okay. And let's quickly add our routes. So the first thing we want to do is import router module. And then we'll do just like a brand. Let me I wonder if there's like a logo or something. I actually don't know a lot about these. It's fine. Do an H1 with an ahref2 there, and this will be quest book. Cool. So we'll do some outer element div class equals flex, justify between. We'll do a padding x of 2. Let's do that for now. Okay. So we get a height of 16. Cool. Just to give it some play. And then for now, we're just gonna have /quests. Okay. There we go. And we have our index and all that. So I think we're good on this. We can route to each of our different pages. I don't like how it's butted up against the right, but we can worry about that later. Okay, let's look at our default font. Let's look at some fonts, right? I don't really want a monospaced one. This is interesting. It's giving Lord of the Rings. Can I write my own text? Oops. Would this be hard to read over time? This one sort of looks like an AI fonts, TBH. Okay. Do this one. We'll get the font. Actually, I've never done this. Okay, embed code, web, import. And let's just do Oh, did I not do mana up? What am I doing? I don't want this. Oops. I just want this one. Oh, it's this guy, right? Why does it look different? That's fine. We'll keep that for now. Worry about it later. Okay, so that's a little bit bold. Doesn't have more than a 400, huh? That's obnoxious. Well. We'll leave it for now. It's fine. Okay, so at least on hover, let's do a quick underline. Cool. So we're set there. I'm just not going to deal with the color for now. Alrighty. Cool. So now we have our two views. What we're going to do next is quickly, we can ignore the index for now since that'll be our aggregate or like our dashboard page. So let's go into the quest view. And so this is where we're going to list our quests out, as we see here. And again, mobile first, so let's ignore the detail. So we'll have a list of quests, some mappings up here, like we saw a few other options, right? So we have some categories up here, or some like filters, but we have our primary category. So let's start with a div, ng for that category of categories, right? Something simple. And we'll have some category mapping, and if it's uncategorized, it can be like a top level. Let's make sure we actually just cool. Okay. So now we're just going to do a declarative design. We might move to imperative. Right. So we can see that here. I'll show like a quick example. It'll display it better than I can. Sorry, we're doing an imperative approach right now. We'll do a declarative later. So we'll just define it as it is now. And so we'll also need to come in and create a model folder. And under here, we're going to do a quest.model.ts. So string title, title, subtitle. We have our description, we have our status. Category. Fix that later. Created that, updated that. Also have a task.model.ts. Export interface task. ID, title, subtitle. Okay. Changes to task. And let's do export this. Should be type, and then this will be. Sorry. Completed, failed. Okay. And then export type test status. That's a little bit easier. It's not started or completed. Okay. So we have a quest model. And so what we'll do is we can create a new file, quest view, view, export interface, quest view, and then we'll do a category. And so this is how we'll map it. If we look here, that looks correct. That looks correct. I don't see anything else. Maybe we can do a count and a percentage complete, but we can add that later. So I think this works. We could also group this under the quest as well if we wanted to, but for now it's fine. Okay. Just go in and go to our quest view, and so we're actually going to create a service as well. And we'll name it the very smartly named or creatively named quest service. And so in our app config, do we provide? No. Okay. So let's quickly go to the service, and here we're going to do a few things. It's also either the dev generates environments. I have to quickly restart our app. There's been an issue there. I'll fix it. Cool. So let's do API. For now, we won't have a prod one. Let's add a dev. Actually, we won't even have a dev. Let's do a local. We'll keep dev. And get quests. We'll do this, and we'll actually wrap these. In a template. And so this is going to return a quest array for now. We're going to add pagination and everything later. So we should get our quests. No, we want to follow a slightly different pattern here. But we'll worry about that later. So this should be able to easily public constructor, private read-only quest service does everything for us. And then we'll do implements on init. Thank you. On init, and then we'll do this dot quest service dot get quest next quest. Okay, and we'll do some logic here. And we'll do this dot categories equals quest dot produce. I'm just gonna do this all for us, huh? Cool. Easy. And then this will just be quest view. So let's externalize this into its own function. Get quest and map and group by category. And that's just so we can keep our data simple. We'll actually change this pattern altogether later, but don't worry about it. So let's actually go to our application. If we go here, cool. Throws an error, but didn't make a call out. So we're actually already returning pagination, so that's on me. Model.ts. For interface. How are we returning this? It's just a page. Okay, and we'll just rip all of this. So size, number, total elements and total pages. Cool. And so instead of this, it's going to be a page. this guy that's oh, did I forget a? It's not me. Okay. Cool. And so if we come back to our view, let's just do this, and we're not even going to include the router link. And we display nothing. And that's because we probably aren't returning anything from the backend, correct? So let's do something a little bit hacky. So we're just going to do private, read-only, HTTP client. We're going to do init sample data. Quest, costs quest equals we're going to delete the ID. Okay, we can delete that, we can delete that. Subtitle. Okay. See, are we missing anything? Status category. We'll do tasks. That, we'll do that. Okay, what are you yelling about? This deep partial. Okay. So this should create our quest. Post. Okay, and then just on our net will init sample data. Cool. Why'd you fail? So we'll probably map this enum separately then, so that's okay. Progress. Failed. Okay, we'll go here. Let's reload. Why are we don't want to do this? What's wrong with you? Save the transient instance before flushing, so this is an error on us. So when we create a quest, let's reload that. Should cascade our data now. Nice. So we get our response. Quest is null. We'll worry about that later. I think we're okay there. Well, we can go. Um, did we not put a password, or did we put a password? So we have our task. Do have request ID. Okay, so that's okay. It's just not returning the object when we return it back. That's cool. Let's run this. Cool. Everything looks good there. And so if we go here, we got an error. Could not read JSON. So why are we getting this? Let's actually run this in debug mode. And I'm curious. It didn't return a not found, it actually returned an error. It's going to create a bunch of quests. So let's be smart. Let's add a debugger here. What's going on? We'll create a few stuff. Quests. Content. Cannot evaluate toString. Okay, it's probably a logblock thing. Let's see if that works. Okay. Nice. So we got our content. Okay. One to many, not others. So maybe we have to change the fetch type to eager. Yep. And the assumption is that if you're getting a list of quests, you're probably going to want the underlying data as well. So we created. we get. And we get our tasks. Nice. Oh, it does infinitely loop though. That's an issue. JSON looping, Spring Boots. And let's say the task doesn't return so the book gives the author, but the reverse doesn't. Okay, so if we ignore tasks on here, and then here we ignore quests, and this is the way we can do it. Being a dummy. So let's create a few objects. Let's come here. We get a paginated results list. We get our tasks. Nice. Cool. They're all mapped under adventure. And I think we're looking good. So what we're actually going to do is come here. I want to do a quick adjustment. So our nav bar is just looking a little bit too narrow on the sides. And so we'll do padding X4. So that looks a little bit better. And then we can always add a bigger padding as we go to bigger screen sizes, but for now we're okay. And I may do a content, like a layout component as well. We'll worry about that later. Okay, so we have request view, we have our grouping, and then we have a few titles, which is cool. That's exactly what we want. Sorry if that's loud. Okay. So just quickly go to our view. We wrap this all into a div. So it's aligned. Now add a margin bottom to this. Because I want us to have like a little bit of space if we need to put a something below it. But actually, for now, let's just worry about the X. So it looks like it's displaying properly. We have this. Let's just add a margin left 4 here. And I think that looks fine. It's a little tightly spaced, but I think we're okay there. So let me put this before this just so we can easily tap between them. Nice. Okay. And should we put a little minimize icon here as well? Check mark and boom. I don't know if this is native. It is. Can you really only do that? Okay. Do they have a hook that we can enable? That's probably not what we want though. We probably want a plus or a minus, right? Okay, so we'll worry about it later. Well, for now, we'll just do energy category full. And we'll add this. That's what it is. Cool. I think we can just do this as a span as well. CSS. No, no select. Cool. So that shows and hides. Let's do with 4. So it's in line. Is that what we want? Yeah. Okay. Now maybe we'll put the class on here. And we'll do the click on the entire thing just so it's a little bit better. Okay. Cool. And so now when we click on a quest, depending on what mode we're in, we also want to display the quest detail. And we can do this in a few ways. Let's assume that if we pass in the full object, so quest, and this will just be a full quest. If we pass it in, we have it. If we don't, we're trying to access the page without activated route, activated. Implements on it. Okay. So we'll do a few things. If quest ID, fetch from backend, else if we don't have a quest, not a route and not a child, error. So what we'll do here is we'll come back to the quest view, and right below okay, and we'll do ng if selected quest, and in the quest view we'll do selected quest. Okay, and then very easy, pick equals over underline. Okay, don't like how Prettier does that. We'll pass it in. And then in the quest detail, log fetching quest with ID. Okay. So now we should have that. Click on one, we get our quest detail. And again, this has a full thing. So on the view, let's remove this. Let's add a so I want to do a margin next here, and then we'll do a border rounded. Okay. I don't like how narrow that is. So maybe we'll just do the padding X4. Should be pixel value, right? So margin MPX. Cool. And we can worry about the outside spacing later, because I'm not sure if we want to have like an outer div or something, but this way we know where the grouping is. Okay. And here it's very simple. So here we have some heading, and we're guaranteed to have it. So it's either going to pass in through here, we'll just wrap it, and then we'll throw a common module here. I think this is a good error handling step actually. Okay, so we'll have the title. We'll then have the subtitle. the description down here, and we'll actually section it off with the description. And then here, we're actually going to have our tasks. So and for now, we're just going to do an H2. Let's do a paragraph tag. Okay, so we'll go to our view. We'll do small here. Do that as well. And then we'll also create a pipe. The pipe pipes slash status. Do those cover all of the statuses? Not started. In progress completed. We actually want this sentence case. I think for all of these actually, we can just return a single value and make it easy. So we'll do the first instead of this, we'll just do car at, split it and join. Nice. So we don't have to worry about processing or anything. We could have done it, but let's go to the detail component and through. Does that work? Not started. Why are these in opposite order? It's fine. Okay. So we have our basic layout, which is cool. Now I do want this to extend downwards, and so we'll do a little HTML body 100%. Okay, so this hits the bottom, which is good. That's what we want. Let's see, we want this like 32. I think it's actually just height. Cool. So that looks good. So we have our scroll bar on here. We should not have one on the outside. So why do we have one on the outside? I think it's just how pages work. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So we're good there. And if we click on one of these, cool. So awesome. We now have a way to send a request to the backend, fetch some data. And display it. That's what I wanted. Nice. So yeah, I think that's a good place to stop for here.